Hello friends, welcome to another 3-minute Game Pass. I'm Nathan, and today I'm going to tip this Game Pass games with your time and bandwidth. Today's game is Rise of Nations Extended Edition. What if Age of Empires let you go from the Stone Age to the Modern Age, and let you fire nukes at cavemen? Well, then it would be like Rise of Nations. Rise of Nations is a PC-only release. It does feature achievements, but they won't pop in your notifications because it's kind of an older game, and the game has essentially unlimited game time. The campaigns will take you a couple hours, but you're meant to play the skirmish mode. So what exactly is Rise of Nations Extended Edition? Well, it's a re-release of the 2003 game Rise of Nations, put out in 2014 to run on modern hardware, including all of the expansions as well as a slight upgrade to graphics. At its core, Rise of Nations is essentially based around the framework of Age of Empires, as it's an RTS with ages gating you from certain technologies and improvements. The main difference is Rise's emphasis on territory control, civ-like nation building, and 4 core technologies that you upgrade. Rise of Nations is very tech-driven, which leads to a fairly large number of upgrades. At the core of it all is 4 key upgrades: military, which controls population and military upgrades; civic, which lets you build more cities; commerce, which raises commerce caps, more on that later; and science, which generally improves everything. There are as many of these core techs as there are ages, and you are required to research a certain number of them before you can age up. In addition, you'll be harvesting a total of 7 resources, though some appear only later in the game, such as oil. Unlike Age of Empires, these aren't limited resources that run out. Instead, each worker assigned will mine that resource forever and increase resource generation for it. The amount you can generate a minute is capped, however, based on your commerce cap, meaning you can't just build a billion farms and outfood everybody. You need tech to support it. Of course, the real reason why we play RTS games is to kill everybody, and so here Rise follows a fairly basic pattern of units and unit counters. You have infantry, cavalry, airplanes, boats, and more, and additionally you have artillery, which is used to capture cities and destroy buildings, as well as supply wagons to prevent you from suffering attrition, which is damage in enemy territory. So having an army that is well balanced to counter an opponent's army is important. There are an insane number of game modes to determine how you win in Rise, including some clever ones like No War Tech Race, Assassin, which lets you only attack one other player, Sudden Death, and more. Overall, Rise of Nations is a classic RTS with a heavy emphasis on economy management and territory control that also lets you go from caveman times to the modern age. What do I like about Rise of Nations? Well, the economy and territory-based gameplay works exceptionally well here, with constant meaningful upgrades and the game being engaging throughout its entire experience. Additionally, each empire is very distinct in its passive bonuses, some which dramatically change how you'll play, even if the core units aren't necessarily super different. And lastly, I love the variety of game modes for skirmish. It makes it so every game you play can be completely unique from the previous one. If you're ever bored, just try a new game mode. When it comes to the bad, the Extended Edition has more than a few bugs that will dampen your experience. The one I always noticed the most was a bug where the audio cuts out sometime for units. I don't know why that happens, but all of a sudden my guns have silencers on them. Additionally, I didn't really find the campaigns to be particularly inspired. They're fairly bland in comparison to other historical-based RTS games campaigns such as Age of Empires. They just really didn't do it for me. And lastly, this game, despite being a 2014 upgrade, can still look pretty old at times when compared to other RTS re-releases. This is not Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition. This is just a version that now runs on modern hardware. So as you know, I rate games here on a 3-point scale. Must play, maybe consider don't bother. I do think Rise of Nations is still a must-play if you are a fan of real-time strategy games. Rise of Nations sadly never took off as a franchise, which is really a shame because this is a fantastic retro RTS. While it certainly draws inspiration from Age of Empires, it expands so much on it and does so many things on its own that it feels completely unique. If you enjoy the Age of Empires games but wish they'd have allowed you to build units into the modern era or focused more on technology, borders, and empire building, you should absolutely check out Rise of Nations. That's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching, and go out there and enjoy the hell out of Rise of Nations Extended Edition.